The film begins one early morning when Zhang Xiyan drives Tang Yang to work. To save time, she put on makeup in the car. Suddenly, she feels hungry and regrets not buying 2 steamed buns from the corner shop. Xiyan has already prepared some for her, including a cup of unsweetened soy milk. In her eyes, he is a perfect brother. 11 years ago, they had just graduated from high school. Everyone gathered for a farewell meal, celebrating the end of their stressful high school years. The students were relaxed and carefree, drinking without restraint. Someone at the table mentioned that after graduation, even the best friendships tend to drift apart. Upon hearing this, the group became sentimental. Xiyan looked particularly sad, and Tang Yang, sitting beside him, promised that she would recognize him as her brother for the rest of my life. The classmates started smearing cake on each other's faces, and the atmosphere became lively. Returning to the present, today is her first day working at Huishang Bank, and she cannot be late. Xian drops her off at the Grand Bank building and wishes her good luck on her first day. Deputy Director Tang. Meanwhile, Director Gan Yiming of the Credit Review Department rushes into the meeting room where his colleagues are waiting for Tang Yang. On the screen, Tang Yang's profile is being displayed. She holds a PhD in finance, developed a financing model, and published many papers. Huishang Bank recruited her to serve as the deputy director of the Credit Review Department. Tang Yang enters on time, greets everyone, and introduces herself. Meanwhile, Xiyan takes a moment to reserve a private room at Shu Shiji restaurant, as she will likely want to bond with her new colleagues over a meal. Then, one of his subordinates calls to inform him about a problem with a livestream on Yisho Gourmet. He hurries to the livestream site, where popular streamer Sheng Nina hosts. Another streamer, Luya, interrupted the broadcast to promote products not part of the contract, leading to a conflict. Xiyan speaks with Luya, asking her to remove the unauthorized products. Still, she refuses, claiming it's a minor issue in the food livestream industry and reminding him how much wealth she has generated for his company. She feels entitled to some freedom. Xiyan gives her an ultimatum. If she insists, they will have to terminate the contract. Back at the bank, Tang Yang finds her office filled with files, which a colleague explains still need to be sorted. Director Gan pretends to scold his subordinates, urging them to tidy up Deputy Director Tang's office quickly. Tang Yang begins working at a desk in the open office. Around noon, she suggests that everyone go for lunch together, but Director Gan mentions that he has a prior engagement, and the other colleagues also decline with various excuses. So, Tang Yang orders takeout for everyone instead. Wei Ran meets with Xiyan, arguing that terminating the contract with Luya would be a massive loss for the company. However, he is firm, saying that no matter what, they cannot compromise their principles. Later, he brings Tang Yang the clothes she left in the car. She walks him to the elevator, and he takes out a necklace, saying it's a gift to celebrate her return home. Tang Yang is delighted. She has always liked this necklace and asks him to help her put it on. It turns out Xiyan had Wei Ran and Yan help choose the necklace, while he only paid for it. Tang Yang then heads to a meeting on the first floor. Before parting, they plan to have a hot pot together in the evening. She attends the meeting on behalf of the Credit Review Department. The head office plans to send leaders to inspect each department, and it is her first time attending such a meeting. After finishing her tasks, Tang Yang discovers the news of the termination of Yi Shu and Lu Ya's contract. She quickly calls Wei Ran, who confirms that it was Xiyan's personal decision. Later, Xiyan waits for her at the hot pot restaurant. She asks him if the issue with the contract termination is serious. He was seemingly unaffected by the company's recent events. After their meal, it begins to rain. On the way, they reflect on their 13 years of friendship. Wei Ran and Yan's son is already 6. When the 3 old friends reunite, they naturally tease each other. Tang Yang mentions that ever since she returned, her mother has been urging her to get married, and Xiyan is in a similar situation, with his mother constantly nagging him. Wei Ran jokingly suggests they should get together, saving them both from their parents' pressure. On the way home, he persists in teasing Xiyan, trying to set him up with Tang Yang, but Xiyan shakes his head, saying they're too close for that. The signing ceremony between Yi Shu and Sheng Nina is about to begin, but Xiyan can't find his cufflinks. Sheng Nina lends him one of her earrings to temporarily solve the issue. Xiyan then gives a warm opening speech, and Nina, looking elegant, takes the stage to share her thoughts on the collaboration. The room is filled with spotlights focused on this handsome pair, creating a lively atmosphere. After the ceremony, Nina accidentally steps on her long dress, nearly falling. Xiyan quickly catches her, and a photo of his cufflink and necklace pendant is taken together. When this picture hits the internet, It immediately causes a sensation, sparking rumors of an affair between them. Later, Tang Yang reads the various news reports in front of Shi Yan, who quickly explains that it is purely a coincidence and that there is absolutely nothing between him and Sheng Nina. However, Tang Yang hopes that he will find a partner soon. He jokes that she'll be left alone to endure her parents' nagging if he does. Meanwhile, Tang Yang discovers that branch manager Shu at a subordinate branch has been involved in irregular loan practices. She summons him for questioning, leaving him speechless and forcing him to admit his mistakes, promising to return with the complete documentation for approval. Tang Yang decides to visit the branch in person for a site inspection. Afterward, Shi Yan accompanies Tang Yang for a stroll down Old Street. They visit the library they frequented during their school days and reminisce about the past. They recall a time when they fought over food. And Shi Yan, too proud to apologize, went to the broadcasting station and, pretending to be Tang Yang's older brother, made a public announcement missing sister notice. Realizing this was his joke, she immediately went to find him to teach him a lesson. Returning to the here and now, Shi Yan accompanies Tang Yang through the bustling streets and alleys of the old city, eating as they explore. At that moment, the city management arrives to clear the area, forcing the street vendors to hurriedly pack up their tables and chairs. They are holding their food and drinks in hand and stand awkwardly by the roadside. Manager Shu sees them and enthusiastically invites Tang Yang to dine inside his restaurant. She politely declines and manages to escape the situation, while Shi Yan, who had hidden earlier, teases her by mimicking Manager Shu's overly friendly tone. Laughing and reminiscing about their childhood, the two recall a time when a dog chased them. Shi Yan brags that if it happened now, he wouldn't run so frantically. A dog suddenly blocks their path. Shi Yan's bravado vanishes, and he instinctively steps back, stumbling over his words. The two of them immediately turn and run like they did as kids. However, the dog sprints past them and disappears into an alley, likely heading home, leaving them relieved as they realize the dog never had them in its sights. Only then do they notice that they've been holding hands tightly. They laugh at each other's earlier panic. But during their escape, Tang Yang twists her ankle. He offers to carry her, but she insists on hobbling along alone. After much effort, they finally reach the car, where Shi Yan quickly applies a spray to treat her ankle. Tang Yang receives a call from Director Gan, asking her to organize a dinner for the credit review department. Shi Yan suspects Mr. Gan has ulterior motives, so Tang Yang arranges the dinner at a restaurant owned by Wei Ran, ensuring she'll be in a safe environment. Upon arriving, it becomes clear that Director Gan is up to no good, as he insists on switching seats to sit next to Tang Yang. She preemptively mentions that she has a cold, but Director Gan still persistently tries to get her to drink alcohol. Meanwhile, Shi Yan, concerned for Tang Yang, turns his car around and heads to the restaurant, disguising himself as a waiter by wearing a mask. He hovers protectively around Tang Yang. She has already noticed that the waiter is Shi Yan and plays along. Frustrated that he can't get close to Tang Yang, Director Gan scolds Shi Yan, pulling him aside to complain. He then tries again to convince Tang Yang to drink, claiming it would help her sweat out the cold. He deliberately spills a bowl of soup on Director Gan, who angrily demands to see the restaurant's owner. Wei Ran arrives and pretends to reprimand Shi Yan, who struggles to suppress his laughter. Wei Ran repeatedly apologizes to Director Gan and even offers to fire the waiter to smooth things over. After dinner, Shi Yan drives Tang Yang home. Tang Yang, sensing something off about Shi Yan's behavior, questions him, but he brushes it off, insisting that everything is normal. Later, he meets Wei Ran and Sheng Wei for a meal, and Wei Ran also notices that he is acting strangely. Without looking up from his food, Sheng suddenly blurts out, Xian has a crush on Tang Yang. He immediately denies it and tells Sheng Wei to stop making baseless remarks. Meanwhile, Shi Yan's mother delivers fresh vegetables she grows in Yan'an. She then heads to her dance class at the senior center, where she partners with Tang Yang's mother, Mrs. Zhou. They joke that while the red string of fate ties together most young couples, Shi Yan and Tang Yang's connection is more like a steel cable forged by the god Guan Yu, a symbol of brotherly solid bonds. The two mothers even make a pact to help each other find suitable partners for their children. At the dance class, an elderly man tries to ask Shi Yan's mother for a dance, but she immediately pulls Mrs. Zhou over, proudly declaring that she's been her dance partner for over 10 years and doesn't dance with anyone else. She believes that Shi Yan's single status is a trait he inherited from her. Leah's recent resignation dealt a significant blow to Shi Yan's company, as the previously steady growth in fans began to decline, and they soon dropped out of the top 10. Observing other streamers starting PK challenges, he decided to try this approach to regain momentum. Meanwhile, Tang Yang's bank is highly competitive, with big and small goals to achieve daily. Every day, she is forced to endure the presence of Director Gan, whose inappropriate behavior toward female colleagues is a constant source of discomfort. She witnessed him touching another female colleague's hand through a window while eating instant noodles, and it made her cringe. She often seeks solace in chatting with Shi Yan, especially when her mother arranges more blind dates. Much to her frustration, she calls Shi Yan, asking for his help as a curveball to avoid these setups. At the same time, Sheng Nina has been constantly hounded by paparazzi, who publish a daily stream of gossip about her. Rumors range from her gaining weight to looking disheveled or without new projects, with some claiming she's on the verge of becoming a washed-up star. After leaving her apartment and heading to the underground parking lot, she encounters a suspicious-looking figure in a black hoodie. Feeling a sense of unease, she thinks back on her recent encounters with the paparazzi and becomes anxious. The person in the hoodie turns out to be Cheng Wei, a reserved engineer from her company. He rarely interacts with others but is known for his technical prowess. Cheng Wei only shows up when needed, usually for software upgrades or editing tasks. Currently, he's testing the company's advertising lights with an infrared scanning device, but Cheng Nina mistakes his actions for different bad behavior. Nina, assuming she is being photographed again, loudly demands that he stop and delete any pictures he's taken. Cheng Wei finds her outburst baffling and doesn't bother explaining. As he prepares to walk away, she aggressively reaches for his glasses, believing them to be a covert recording device. It's only after entering the company and seeing others greet Cheng Wei that she realizes she has made a mistake. By then, his glasses had already been broken, and she awkwardly offered to buy him a new pair. Cheng Wei, still irritated, tells her they haven't been released for sale yet, so she wouldn't be able to buy them anyway. Later that evening, Shi Yan's mom is again nagging him to improve his emotional intelligence and learn how to manage relationships. Upon hearing that Tang Yang has returned to town, she personally makes a special dish. Buddha jumps over the wall, intending to invite Tang Yang over to share it. She receives a call from Shi Yan, surprised by his late-night invitation to come downstairs. The excuse he gives is humorously childish. He wants to thank her for not abandoning him during their encounter with the mad dog. To make it up to her, he has prepared a small gift. When she arrives at Shi Yan's car, she's surprised that the gift is lipstick, a thoughtful and unexpected gesture. It's a special moment for her, as this is the first time in her life that she's been gifted both high heels and lipstick, and both times by him. Excited, she tries the lipstick on and finds the color a perfect match. Admiring Shi Yan's impeccable taste again, Tang Yang's high school classmate, Zhou Mo, invited her for dinner, which made Shi Yan immediately wary. When he saw that Zhou Mo was not only tall and handsome but also successful in his career, he felt a sense of danger. They seemed to have much in common, which only heightened Shi Yan's discomfort. He quickly texted his friends, asking them to come urgently. Cheng Wei and Wei Ran rushed to there. Wei Ran immediately understood Shi Yan's motive, a plan to scope out the competition. Shi Yan used the opportunity to separate Tang Yang and Zhou Mo by having Zhou sit next to the guys. However, Zhou Mo proved extremely charming and soon defeated Shi Yan's friends. Wei Ran, looking to secure a piano teacher for his child, discovered that Zhou Mo knew a famous piano instructor, and he immediately offered to help. This quickly made Wei Ran switch sides. That evening, Tang Yang's circle of friends was abuzz with talk about Zhou Mo's charisma and maturity. The women in the group were particularly taken with him, leaving Shi Yan increasingly frustrated. His original plan to have them speak ill of Zhou Mo had backfired, and instead, they were all singing his praises. Wei Ran's wife had just discovered a new app that supposedly measured romantic compatibility. For fun, the group decided to test everyone's scores. Shi Yan, confident that his name paired with Tang Yang's would score highly, eagerly participated. However, when their compatibility score was revealed, it was shockingly low, 52 points out of 100, prompting laughter from the entire group. To make matters worse, everyone else's score with Tang Yang was higher than his, which annoyed him. Meanwhile, Zhou Mo attended a dinner with old classmates, and the conversation turned to Tang Yang. One classmate, who had talked a dorm with Tang Yang, mentioned how hardworking and ambitious she was. After graduating, Tang Yang saved up to buy a house in her hometown, choosing the shortest mortgage term possible to avoid long-term debt. She lived frugally, even foregoing her beloved collectibles. This story left a deep impression on Zhou Mo, making him admire her even more. Later, Tang Yang asked Shi Yan if he could come to her rescue again on Saturday, just like last time, to help her get rid of another blind date arranged by her mother. He is always willing to help and immediately sets an alarm to ensure he won't be late. When Saturday arrived, Shi Yan overslept. Realizing too late that Tang Yang was likely already sitting through another awkward date, he rushed out the door, driving as if his car had wings to get there quickly. As expected, his familiar antics successfully helped Tang Yang escape the date her mother had set up, ending the whole process. On their way back, he complained about being starving. Tang Yang invited him to join her at home for a meal, marking the end of a chaotic but successful day. After dinner, Shi Yan cleaned Tang Yang's kitchen thoroughly before leaving. As she walked him out, she sincerely thanked him for all the years he had taken care of her parents while she wasn't around, often going out of his way and adding to his troubles. The two made plans for the weekend, first to play badminton with Wei Ran and his wife, then go out for some delicious food, and end the day with a walk by the river. When the weekend came, Tang Yang got ready for badminton. But just then, Zhou Mo called. He said he had a question he needed her help with and asked if they could meet. Not wanting to refuse, she agreed to meet him. Xi Yan received a message from Tang Yang and immediately felt disappointed. Meanwhile, Tang Yang met with Zhou Mo and asked what he needed help with. He explained that he had an essential friend to whom he wanted to gift trendy collectibles, but he had no clue about them. Hearing this, Tang Yang, a fan of such things, eagerly dove into an explanation and was excited to help. Not only did Tang Yang miss the badminton match, but she also didn't show up for lunch. He was feeling down. Tang Yang returned home and sent several messages to Xi Yan, but he didn't respond. The next day, she saw him bringing some tasty food as a peace offering. After much coaxing, he finally smiled. Just then, their colleague Xiao Fan called about Zhang Jilin's braised food shop, which was looking to expand and needed a loan. Aware of the situation, Tang Yang visited the shop for an inspection. Frustrated, he intended to throw away the food she brought but eventually couldn't. Jilin was the widow of a soldier who died during a mission. She had connected with other military wives in similar situations and wanted to expand her braised food shop. However, her loan applications had been repeatedly rejected. Determined, Jilin kept submitting her paperwork. After reviewing the situation, Tang Yang clearly understood the issue. That evening, Xi Yan and Tang Yang met outside their old school. He had bought some braised food from Jilin's shop, intending to give it to her. Touched by the gesture, she apologized again for standing him up earlier. In a light-hearted manner, he said that if she was genuinely sorry, she should show it through action, like jumping the school fence with him to play a round of badminton. The two of them jumped the fence, but the gym was locked. Suddenly, a security guard spotted them and gave chase. They hid in a storage room, huddled close together, listening to each other's heartbeats, daring not to breathe heavily. The air was thick with a sense of awkwardness and subtle tension. Finally, the security guard left, and Tang Yang hurriedly pulled away from him, eager to escape the awkwardness. To make up for standing him up earlier, she took him to a market that bustled during the day but was empty at night. There, they played badminton together, reminiscing about their childhood. After evaluating Jilan's loan situation, Tang Yang concluded that it was feasible to grant her the loan. However, Deputy Director Qin Yu raised concerns about her repayability. Despite this, Director Gan supported Tang Yang's decision, encouraging others to learn from her. After the meeting, Gan Yiming's subordinate asked him why he endorsed Tang when Qin Yu's concerns were valid. He slyly revealed that he wanted Tang Yang to learn a hard lesson. Jilan was overjoyed when manager Xu notified her that her loan had been approved. She immediately began renovating and expanding her shop. Meanwhile, Tang Yang received a large package she eagerly anticipated, a limited edition toy bear. Seeing the note, she realized it wasn't from Xi Yan but from Zhou Mo. Recalling their earlier conversation, to express her gratitude, she met Zhou Mo for coffee and insisted on paying him back for the toy. He quoted a price of 8.722. And after Tang transferred the money, she reminded him multiple times to accept it, which he finally did. Xi Yan then brought food to Tang Yang, only to spot the toy bear Zhou Mo had gifted her. Curious, he inspected the bear, and upon learning it was from Zhou Mo, he became furious. Secretly, he damaged the bear and muttered to it that if he couldn't be with Tang Yang, it wouldn't be allowed to stay either. As they were eating, the bear's arm suddenly fell off. Tang Yang immediately knew Xi Yan was behind it. Taking advantage of the situation, he picked up the bear and offered to fix it for her. Meanwhile, Jilan wanted to thank Tang Yang for helping her secure the loan, so she waited outside the bank with some of her braised products. However, Tang Yang insisted she take them back. Qin Yu, noticing this, kindly warned her that Jilan's situation wasn't as straightforward as it seemed and that Yi Ming was setting her up for failure. She and Yan later visited Jilan's snack shop. Although the renovated shop was much improved, the once long lines of customers had vanished. Concerned about Jilan's declining business, Yanin and Shi Yan discussed whether this would negatively impact Tang Yang's career. Wei Ran said that Yi Ming, whom they had met over dinner, didn't seem trustworthy. Tang Yang brainstormed several business ideas for Jilan and sent them to manager Xu to discuss with her. Later, Shi Yan drove near Jilan's braised food shop and noticed some older students bullying a younger child. He recorded the incident on video and quickly intervened, warning the bullies that if they didn't stop, he would post the video online and send it to their teachers. The frightened students apologized to the boy. The boy's older brother ran over to comfort him. And this scene reminded Shi Yan of his childhood. After losing his father, his mother struggled to support him by selling seafood. And when he himself was bullied, it was Tang Yang who had stepped in to protect him. Shi Yan escorted the two brothers home and discovered they were Ji Lan's children. To help boost her business, he invited a well-known food blogger to visit the shop. However, when the blogger arrived at the shop, they found it bustling with a long line of customers, something even Shi Yan didn't expect. It turned out this success was due to Tang Yang's ideas. She was also surprised to see the food blogger, and Wei Ran explained that Shi Yan invited him. Nina accidentally broke Cheng Hui's high-tech glasses and offered to take him and his tech team out for dinner as an apology. At first, Cheng Wei declined, but later, for unknown reasons, he accepted. However, when they arrived on time, Cheng Wei didn't come. When his subordinate called to check, Cheng Wei casually mentioned that he did not intend to attend. Nina found Cheng Hui's aloofness increasingly intriguing. Shi Yan delivered a large box to Tang Yang's apartment and left before she could ask what it was. When she opened it, she found the limited edition bear. Thinking he had repaired the original, she inspected it closely, only to notice that the serial number was different. She began to feel something unusual about the situation. Tang Yang sought out Yan In, who was getting her nails done, to help her analyze her situation. Self-proclaimed as an expert in psychology and emotions, Zhang Yanan immediately understood the situation. She explained that the familiar friend likely had deeper feelings for the woman. Although they had gone through many experiences together and valued their bond, he hesitated to take their relationship to the next level, fearing it would ruin their friendship. Tang Yang pondered Yan An's analysis and suspected that Shi Yan might have romantic feelings for her. Could their friendship be at risk of turning into something more? To test this theory, she put him through a few subtle tests. She wore a dress before Zhang, who felt confused and instantly commented that he couldn't stand seeing her in such clothes. When her shoelaces came undone, he bent down to tie them for her. For a brief moment, she was touched by his gentleness and wondered if he had romantic feelings for her. Just as she was about to walk away, she realized he had tied both her shoes together, causing her to stumble. Frustrated, she could only laugh at his playful antics. Unsure what to make of his mixed signals, Cheng Wei and Nina were doing live broadcasts on location together. The location they came to live broadcast this time was a hilly area near the sea, with tea gardens, blue skies, and fresh air. He was rigorous and conscientious in his work. After finishing work, he continued to work, running at night and watching the sunrise. Nina had never met such an energetic person. The alarm clock rang at 4 in the morning. Cheng Wei checked the sunrise time that day the night before and made a route guide. Tang Yang especially wanted to help the hostess of the food shop. The two hit it off immediately and designed a promotional advertisement to help them shoot food. Many people came here after seeing the gourmet food video, and the store business was extremely booming. People in the bank saw that the business of the small shop where Tang Yang was responsible for lending money was booming, and they all envied her for having such a profitable business. But she felt that he was lucky. An uninvited guest came to Shi Yan's company that day. He believed in an advertising link and bought a fund. As a result, the webpage quickly disappeared and could not be found again. The man became furious and came to Shi Yan's company, kidnapped a woman and asked for a refund. The situation was critical. Shi Yan reminded him it would be best to call the police because his website had never had such a link. The police arrived quickly, as did the psychological counselor. Many people were watching at the time. The psychological counselor suggested that Shi Yan stabilize the other person's emotions and take him to a place with few people. With the assistance of police station personnel, the gangster was led to the elevator entrance. Tang Yang saw the live broadcast and found that Shi Yan was alone in a battle of wits with the gangster. The gangster had a dagger in his hand. Fortunately, Shi Yan escaped safely. When Tang Yang ran to the scene of the incident, he saw Shi Yan desperately grabbing the dagger from the gangster's hand and then being pushed down. She ran over nervously and pulled him up. Shi Yan was surprised she was there but was so nervous that she started crying. Seeing her eyes red and swollen, Shi Yan felt that this adventure was worth it. In the early morning, Tang Yang fell asleep on the sofa in Shi Yan's company. He gently covered her with a blanket and looked at Tang Yang's long eyelashes. He felt that working overtime was not tiring and even a little romantic. When Tang Yang was browsing the food showcase, he heard Shi Yan's colleagues in the company asking about Tang Yang's relationship with their boss. At that time, he immediately reminded himself that he and Tang Yang were close buddies and were always on the same page. Wei Ran also said they had a pure friendship, so everyone should not misunderstand. Tang Yang was suddenly a little disappointed after listening to their conversation. It turned out that Shi Yan had always regarded her as a buddy, and deliberately distanced themselves from their relationship in front of his colleagues. Thinking of this, she lost all interest. After returning home, Tang Yang carried the dessert box that Shi Yan gave her when she left his company. Although it contained her favorite pastries, she remembered that she heard Shi Yan's words deliberately disclosing their relationship as lovers in the company and immediately dismissing her thoughts. It seems that she still needs to keep a distance from Shi Yan to avoid being sad in the future. As usual, Shi Yan went to Tang Yang's bank to pick her up from work. When Tang Yang's colleagues saw such a handsome boy, they all looked at her with envy. She walked out and reminded Shi Yan expressionlessly not to come to the bank to pick her up from work in the future. Don't always come to her, lest others misunderstand that they are boyfriend and girlfriend. He was really sad when he heard Tang Yang say such words for the first time. When he returned to the company, he found Cheng Wei and Wei ran and repeated what Tang Yang had just said. Normally, she was carefree and never worried about what outsiders thought of them. Why was he so cautious now? Wei Ran guessed that she must have a new boy in the bank, and she was worried that Shi Yan would often pick her up from work, which would affect her. With such an explanation, Shi Yan was even more confused. In the following days, Shi Yan was often absent when Tang Yang was present, and she was missing when he was present. Shi Yan overheard that Tang Yang visited a house with his senior. He became even more suspicious of the progress of the two people and immediately called her. During the phone call, he heard she was in a car accident. He rushed toward her location. Her car had been hit by a drunk driver, who then smashed her window when she tried to call the police. Amid the chaos, he arrived just in time to help the police subdue the driver, ensuring her safety. The police took away the drunk driver, and Tang Yang's car was towed for repairs. As she sat in Shi Yan's car, still shaken, she told him how grateful she was for his timely arrival. He noticed that her leg was injured at some point, and he quickly took out a first aid kit to carefully bandage her wound. At that moment, she felt a little dazed by his attentiveness. He drove her home, and before she got out, she picked a flower from the roadside and handed it to him, thanking him for saving her and getting her home safely. He couldn't resist asking her about the situation with Joe Mo in the apartment viewing. She explained that she valued boundaries between people. Once someone approached her with ulterior motives, their relationship became tainted. He quickly reassured her that this would never happen between them. She found it odd how serious Shi Yan suddenly seemed about this topic. Meanwhile, Nina's live streams were suddenly attacked by trolls, but Cheng Wei acted quickly, initiating an emergency response plan and containing the situation. She was impressed by his quick thinking. Later, Cheng Wei asked her for an autograph, claiming it was for his cousin, a huge fan. After the live stream ended, Nina saw Cheng Wei take a foldable electric bike from his car's trunk and ride off in style. On Sunday, Wei Ran took the initiative to invite Tang Yang and Shi Yan to picnic together. Wei Ran took the children with him. Wei Ran called Shi Yan godfather, and Tang Yang godmother, but instead called Cheng Wei eldest brother. Wei Ran laughed loudly, and the little boy explained that Cheng Hui's role in the game was the big brother. With the children around, the atmosphere was very happy. Tang Yang and Shi Yan were back to their previous positions of good buddies, unrestrained but not unfamiliar at all. They all made plans to celebrate New Year's Eve together at Yishu Delicious. Yishu's team was preparing a grand live stream event for New Year's Eve, and everyone was busy. Director Gon distributed New Year's gifts at the credit review office and mentioned that an important client was holding an end-of-year party at a suburban resort. Since the client was crucial, the department needed to send someone. He, pretending to be considerate, suggested sending the single employees, who were then directly named Tang Yang and Xiaofan, leaving her no choice but to agree. Meanwhile, Nina's New Year's livestream was hugely successful, with sales exceeding 30 million yuan. The team celebrated with a toast and a group photo. Tang Yang, rushing back to Yishu Delicious for the New Year's countdown, saw a group picture in the chat, with Shi Yan and Nina holding hands in the center. Yan even commented that they looked like a perfect match. Tang Yang, having already arrived at Yishu's entrance, hesitated, then drove away. Shi Yan, puzzled when he learned Tang Yang wasn't coming for the second half of the celebration, looked at the group picture and seemed to understand what was going on. He immediately picked up his phone and went to Tang Yang's favorite alley to find her. With nowhere to go, she thought she would spend New Year's Eve tonight with stray kittens, but when she opened her eyes again, Shi Yan was standing in front of her, startled and happy. She asked why he was here, suggesting that it wasn't a good idea for him to leave Yishu at that moment. He responded that spending New Year's Eve with her was the real issue. As the New Year's bell rang, fireworks lit up the sky around them, and Shi Yan handed her a sparkler. Together, they lit them up, watching as the words, "Happy New Year," appeared on a screen, and the fireworks illuminated their faces. Unknowingly, their feelings for each other began to deepen. Back at Yishu Delicious, the New Year's atmosphere was in full swing, with a hot pot on the table. Only Nina rested alone in the break room, while Cheng Wei sat by his computer, lost in thought. They exchanged New Year's greetings over the computer, though it seemed Cheng Wei knew more about Nina than she knew about him. Nina saw Shi Yan and Tang Yang return but noticed that she came in first while Shi Yan lingered outside before coming in. Smiling knowingly, she kept it to herself. They started enjoying the hot pot. As Nina prepared to leave, everyone stood up to see her off. She told Shi Yan not to bother, but he explained he was late because he had to handle something. With a double meaning, she remarked, "It's okay. New Year's Eve is for spending time with someone you like while watching the first snowfall." After dinner, the group decided to head up to the mountaintop to watch the sunrise, a tradition they had kept for many years. Wei ran and Yan and reminisced about their relationship, which had blossomed from school uniforms to wedding attire. Shi Yan, enviously, said it was a blessing to marry your best friend. His gaze was fixed on Tang Yang as he spoke, clearly directing his words at her. Oblivious to the subtext, Wei Ran urged them to hurry up and find their partners. As the sun rose, they hurried to take a group photo. Shi Yan kept one last photo to himself, where his hand was close to Tang Yang's shoulder, though he hadn't touched her. The next day, Shi Yan called, urging her to come to the office immediately. Unsure of what was happening, she rushed over with bubble tea, only to find him and the others playing cards. Shi Yan had been losing terribly, with his face covered in sticky notes. Tang Yang quickly turned the game around, and everyone admired her skill, joking that tech people can't compete with finance people. Nangang Airlines met with Zhujiang Holdings and Huishang Bank representatives to discuss the next steps for their loan project. Tang Yang never thought she would one day become a competitor with Zhou Mo. He used some means to win over the president quickly. Tang Yang's investigation report cannot change the leader's mind. After the meeting, she planned to drop by her house for a meal but found Shi Yan already there. He was there to help replace the water filter for teacher Zhou. Seeing him more familiar with her home than herself, she felt a surge of happiness. Jilan's loan case was a great success, and President Zhou personally came to Huishang's credit department to award Tang Yang. However, with the airline loan lost to Zhujiang, there were whispers among her colleagues speculating that she had strong connections behind her. With New Year's Eve approaching, Yishou's employees were returning home for the holiday, but Shi Yan stayed behind, saying he had a project to work on. His project, it turned out, was planning how he and Tang Yan could spend New Year together. His mother had arranged with teacher Zhou to spend New Year's at Shusui Resort. He was excited and spent a long time carefully choosing his outfit, even insisting his mother dress up, since he needed to pick up his grandfather and uncle from town. He asked Tang Yan to drive teacher Zhou and her family to the resort. While en route, he called, informing her that his grandfather had sprained his ankle and couldn't move, meaning they would be unable to join them at the resort. Tang Yan and her mother encouraged Zhang to care for his grandfather and ended the call. Shi Yan, disappointed that his long-anticipated plans to spend New Year with Tang Yang had fallen through, felt deep regret. Meanwhile, his grandfather and mother were arguing about the high price of the medical patch they had bought. Neither Shi Yan nor his uncle dared to intervene. Just then, Tang Yang arrived with her parents, carrying large bags of food. They had packed up the New Year's dinner from the resort and brought it to Shi Yan's grandfather's house. After all, they had planned to spend New Year's together, and the yard was bustling with activity. Tang Yang and Shi Yan wandered through the countryside, where she had visited as a child, bringing back fond memories. The New Year's Eve dinner was finally ready. Due to the many people, 3 tables were set up in Shi Yan's grandfather's courtyard. Xian and Tang Yang were seated at the children's table. According to local customs, those who aren't married are still considered children and receive red envelopes. Hearing this, Shi Yan told everyone they would aim to get married next year and sit at the adults' table. Tang Yang quickly nudged him, joking that being at the kids' table was great since they could still get red envelopes. After dinner, he took Tang Yang for a walk around the town. They bought some small fireworks, and she even bought bubble gum for him. The two had a playful contest blowing bubbles. She was annoyed that his bubble was bigger, pushing it back into his mouth. She noticed a family photo on the wall at Shi Yan's house and many childhood pictures of him. One particularly funny photo caught her attention, and she tried to take a picture to share in the group chat. He panicked and lunged to grab her phone, and in the chaos, they bumped into each other. He was overwhelmed with feelings and leaned in to kiss her. But just as they were about to kiss, a noise from outside startled them. She quickly pulled away, and both felt awkward. His mother called them outside to watch the fireworks for midnight. The courtyard was filled with people, and as the beautiful fireworks lit up the sky, everyone cheered. But he quietly slipped away from the crowd, turning his back to them. Tang Yang noticed this and understood he was embarrassed, though she couldn't quite describe her feelings. Teacher Zhou needed to leave early the next day because of visiting guests. When Shi Yan woke and found out Tang Yang had already left, he hurried after her, especially since his grandfather's gift had been forgotten. Tang noticed Shi Yan's confused expression and wanted to say something but couldn't find the right words. Later, their classmates planned to gather at Yuranju. Shi Yan was supposed to attend but cancelled at the last minute. Tang Yang assumed he had avoided her, so she went to his house. But he was not at home. When he saw Tang Yang waiting, he nervously apologized. She reassured him that after everything they had been through together, she didn't want small issues to affect their relationship. To her, he was as important as her parents. Shi Yan couldn't understand why she pushed him away that night on New Year's Eve. After pondering for a long time, he asked his cousin Yanan for advice. He told her that his cousin had recently encountered issues and needed guidance. After listening to his story, Yanan casually remarked that maybe the girl only saw him as a friend and had never considered him as boyfriend material. This blunt observation felt like a cold splash of water to Shi Yan, making him wonder if Tang Yang had just been embarrassed by his actions that night. Since hearing Yanan's advice, Shi Yan has been avoiding Tang Yang for days. When he heard she was visiting their office, he quickly hid in a corner, only coming out once she had left, awkwardly claiming he had been on a phone call. Tang Yang's bank was working on a partnership with Shi Yan's company, and to avoid seeing her, he asked Wei Ran to take the meeting on his behalf. Even though she suspected that Shi Yan had been avoiding her, she lacked the courage to confront him and find out why. The next day, she made up an excuse to visit Shi Yan's house, coincidentally catching him just as he returned home with his suitcase. Their eyes met, and his face lit up with a smile. Tang Yang felt a sense of relief. Shi Yan was still the same as always, just like the boy she knew in high school. They were still close. Like before, Tang Yang attended the bank's cocktail party with her department leaders and saw Lin Lang. She was dressed provocatively in a crop top, exuding confidence. Seeing Lin Lang warmly greeting Gan Yiming, Tang Yang felt worried and reminded her not to drink too much. Lin Lang stuck close to Gan Yiming at the cocktail party, who predictably pressured her into drinking too much. Noticing Lin's pale complexion, Tang Yang immediately helped her escape the situation. She told Lin Lang to head home and not worry about the rest of the event. Gan Yiming, who had his own unsavory intentions, was angered by Tang Yang thwarting his plans again. Seeing her on stage later to present an award, his frustration grew, and he couldn't resist calling her outside, claiming he needed to discuss work-related matters. With no one else around, he placed his lecherous hand on Tang Yang's shoulder, saying that the more outstanding a woman was, the stronger his desire to conquer her. Shi Yan also attended the party. When he lost sight of Tang Yang for a few minutes, he anxiously searched the room and soon spotted her holding the fork against Gan Yiming. Without hesitation, Shi Yan marched over and punched Yiming, giving him a thorough beating. A bruised and battered Yiming limped out of the party. Her recent frustrations with Shi Yan evaporated. Knowing now that he had been silently protecting her all along, she then helped him tend to his injured hand. Although he always appeared tough on the outside, he was surprisingly vulnerable. Watching from a distance, Zhou Mo saw everything unfold. He went to help Yiming into a car and accompanied him home. Yiming's wife was Zhou Mo's boss, and he had been instructed to ensure her husband returned home safely. Gan Yiming and his wife had been living apart for years, both pursuing their own affairs. They only put on a show of being together at necessary events. When his wife needed money, she would inform her husband, and he would find ways to secure loans for her company. This time, when his wife saw the bruises on his face, she immediately guessed that it had to do with another woman. She warned him not to go too far lest he someday meet his downfall at the hands of a woman. However, Yiming just smirked and reminded her to be content. He hinted that all the loans he had arranged for her over the years were illegal, and if they were ever uncovered, the consequences would be devastating. So, for now, they should enjoy life while they can. Shi Yan prepared to confess his feelings to Tang Yang, but his phone rang just as he was about to. His mother asked him to return home to help with something. Around the same time, Tang Yang's mother called, so both had to rush back. Shi Yan and his mother went together to Tang Yang's home. Throughout the visit, he repeatedly tried to pick up where they had left off at the party, but something always interrupted him. On the way home after dropping off his mother, he decided to find Tang Yang and finally tell her how he felt. They walked around the neighborhood, catching up on each other's lives. He revealed that he started his food review business because of Tang Yang. She always brought him delicious food when they were younger. Whether it was hot pot, skewers, or instant noodles they cooked together. After graduating, he noticed how far apart they had become. Tang Yang pursued her master's and later her PhD while he remained in their hometown. Shi Yan hoped she would return one day. So he started exploring local food spots, filming them, and ensuring everything was perfect. His goal was to show her how great the food from their hometown was, hoping it might make her want to come back. Tang Yang smiled, revealing that back in college, she would often stay late in the library, and watching Shi Yan's food review videos became a regular part of her routine, motivating her to keep going. Shi Yan wanted to confess his feelings, words he had held inside for a long time. But looking into Tang Yang's eyes made him nervous, and he couldn't find the right words. Just as he was about to speak, her phone rang. Her mother was calling her home. At work the next day, Gan Yiming and Lin Lang were on leave, so the bank leadership asked Tang Yang to temporarily take over his duties. Tang Yang didn't mind since there were set procedures at the bank, and handling his workload for a few days didn't seem too difficult. However, Gan Yiming had his plans. A company called Qing Lai was seeking a significant loan, but based on experience, they didn't meet the requirements. Still, because of the company owner's connections, the bank had previously taken risks and approved their loans. This time, Gan Yiming intended to pressure Tang Yang and see how she would handle the situation. Later that day, Shi Yan came to pick Tang Yang up from work. She handed him a water bottle, and their hands accidentally touched. Both felt a surge of emotions, hearts racing, but neither had the courage to take the next step. Tang Yang wanted to hold Shi Yan's hand but hesitated. The same seemed true for him. They were both willing, but neither fully acted on their feelings. When they arrived at Tang Yang's apartment complex, he got out of the car and boldly took Tang Yang's hand. Both felt their hearts pounding. But just then, an elderly woman interrupted them, enthusiastically giving them a bag full of plums. With their hands now full of fruit, the moment to hold hands again slipped away. On the day of the class reunion, where everyone chatted enthusiastically about the past, this girl, Zhang Xinyi, also showed up, and naturally, the group started talking about Shi Yan and her brief romance during school. They asked Tang Yang if she knew about it. At that moment, Shi Yan was in another room fetching a fruit platter and had no idea what was being discussed. Tang Yang, looking puzzled, said she didn't know about their relationship. It made sense, though, as she had spent 3 years pursuing her PhD while they were in different places, so it wasn't surprising she hadn't heard about it. Wei Ran explained that their relationship had been short-lived and quietly faded away. Listening to this, Tang Yang felt a bit jealous. During dinner, she noticed Shi Yan and Shen Yi chatting happily. Leaving her feeling sidelined, she grew increasingly upset and began drinking beer. One can after another. Shen Yi and Tang Yang were completely different types of people. Tang Yang was straightforward and usually dressed in a more androgynous style, while Shen Yi was gentle and feminine, with flowing long hair and a ladylike wardrobe. She figured it probably wasn't meant to be if she and Shi Yan had been such close friends for so many years and hadn't gotten together by now. So, she decided to take the high road and let things play out, even going so far as to suggest she would ride in Wei Ran's car and let Shi Yan drive Shen Yi home. The atmosphere turned slightly awkward. As the car arrived, Shi Yan asked the driver to drop Shen Yi off at her hotel and then headed back to find Tang Yang. When she got home, she continued drinking alone at her table with her potted plants. Shi Yan came knocking at her door. She asked why he was there instead of being with his first love. He denied that Shen Yi was his first love. But Tang Yang wouldn't let it go, grabbing his collar and asking if she was. Frustrated, he finally admitted that Tang Yang was his little son. She burst into both tears and laughter, dragging him to the bathroom and pointing at the ceiling light, asking him if he knew what the little son looked like. Shi Yan found the situation amusing and endearing, wondering how to confuse something important with a light bulb. That night, she rambled on for a long time, asking if his first kiss had been with Shen Yi and alternating between crying and making a fuss. She even asked Shi Yan to kiss her, but she fell asleep just as things were about to escalate. Nothing happened that night. She slept on the sofa, and he stayed nearby on the floor. In the morning, she woke to the smell of breakfast, finding that Shi Yan had already made a meal. As she was about to try his homemade purple rice porridge, Yan knocked at the door, tearfully upset. It turned out that Wei Ran had listed their house with a real estate agent without consulting her, intending to sell it and upgrade to a place in the city center that would increase in value over time. She was furious, feeling that the house was their wedding home and couldn't be sold without discussion. As a result, she decided to leave home and stay at Tang Yang's place. Refusing to go back, Wei Ran, now worrying, kept calling Tang Yang, hoping she could help mediate the situation. Tang Yang took over Gan Yiming's pending tasks at the bank and discovered that one of the companies applying for a loan had irregularities. However, the leadership seemed optimistic about the company, so she had to carefully consider approving the loan. Meanwhile, Yanan continued staying at Tang Yang's place, prompting Wei Ran to ask her for help. Cleverly, she brought Yanan's son to her house. After the son longed for his mother, Yanan returned home that day. Shen Yi called Tang Yang to arrange a meeting, piquing Tang Yang's curiosity. During their conversation, Shen Yi hoped that Tang Yang could persuade Shi Yan to make his company public soon. Tang Yang admitted that she never interfered with his work matters. She added that Yi Shou was doing very well under Shi Yan's leadership, with few missteps, so she wouldn't interfere in his business decisions. Through this close interaction, Shen Yi realized how outstanding Tang Yang was, understanding why Shi Yan was so attached to her and why he avoided other women. The next day, she called him to let him know she was leaving and told him to contact her when he plans to take the company public. She also encouraged him to confess to Tang Yang soon, warning that such an exceptional woman might be snatched away if he didn't act quickly. Thanks to her understanding, Shi Yan shyly replied that he was already in a serious relationship with Tang Yang. He then found a scenic guest house and called Tang Yang to invite her on a weekend hiking trip. Friday soon arrived, the day they had planned for their getaway. That morning, Tang Yang replied to his WeChat message but suddenly went silent. He waited but received no response. Growing increasingly anxious, he rushed to her place, but the door was locked. She was also absent from the bank. Desperate, he hurried to her parents' house, but she wasn't there either. Shi Yan panicked while Tang Yang's mother calmly sat on the sofa, reassuring him that she probably forgot her phone charger and ran out of battery. Still worried, he contacted Zhou Mo for help. Eventually, Zhou Mo informed him that Tang Yang had gone out to investigate a business matter, finally easing Shi Yan's mind. Meanwhile, Wei Ran returned from his business trip, expecting that his wife's anger would have cooled after a couple of days apart. However, to his shock, Yanan had packed up all his personal belongings and told him to take his things and leave. He began to panic because they had already put a deposit on a new house, and if they didn't sell the old one soon, they'd be stuck. Shi Yan thought that Wei Ran had taken a huge risk by acting first and dealing with the consequences later, and it was no surprise he was now being punished. Finally, Tang Yang called Shi Yan, who was so excited that he immediately left the office. When he saw her standing before him, he was emotional and quickly asked if she had run into any trouble the day before. She complained about the poor shower facilities at the hotel she stayed at during her business trip, which made her uncomfortable for days. He brought her some mugwort leaves, saying that soaking in them would relieve her discomfort. She couldn't help but laugh at how Shi Yan, like a little assistant, was so attentive and gentle around her, even though people outside envied his success with Yi Shou. To welcome Tang Yang back, he cooked hot pot at her place, and the two chatted casually, making it feel like they were a married couple. He wanted to plan their next meal together, but Tang Yang's work interrupted their last well-planned dinner. She was still dealing with the complex work left behind by Gan Yiming, which needed urgent attention. Meanwhile, Yanan was out walking with her child when they ran into an old classmate who now worked as a real estate agent. The classmate advised Yanan to sell their current house quickly, as delaying the process could affect the registration of the new one. Only then did she learn that her husband had already put down a deposit on a new home, leading to yet another argument between them. Later, Shi Yan's appendicitis flared up again. Tang Yang quickly called Wei Ran, and the couple stopped fighting when they received the news. After Shi Yan's surgery, he was taken to the recovery room. Wei Ran and Yanan arrived. Their loudness startled him, but he still couldn't speak, only using facial expressions to communicate, something only Tang Yang could interpret. Shi Yan lay quietly on the hospital bed, not complaining about Tang Yang's nagging. Instead, he felt at ease watching her busy. Back to work, Tang Yang is still following up on the Qinglai art training case with her colleagues. As their investigation deepened, they uncovered several potential issues, including the fact that the company had been delaying employee salaries for some time, indicating financial troubles. Around this time, Bank Director Zhou summoned her and informed her that Director Gan was about to return to work. Zhou also hinted that loans for prestigious institutions like Qinglai could be expedited, though Tang Yang nodded and agreed to speed up the review. She felt unsure. Shi Yan unexpectedly developed a fever and had to stay in the hospital for a couple more days. Much to his delight, he was thrilled about having more alone time with Tang Yang. That night, he was so excited that he couldn't sleep until she forced him to close his eyes. In the morning, he woke up early and saw her sleeping beside him, her head resting on his bed. When Tang Yang woke up, they shared a tender moment. Their gazes locked, and they were about to kiss when his mother burst into the room. She insisted that Tang Yang go home to rest or, better yet, go shopping and dress nicely to meet potential suitors. The mother complained that spending too much time with Shi Yan wasted Tang Yang's opportunities. Annoyed by his mother's nagging, Shi Yan turned his head away angrily while Tang Yang, looking pitiful, exchanged glances with him through the glass door for a long moment before leaving. Meanwhile, Wei Ran begged her for help with his marriage situation. She arranged to meet Yanan for coffee and analyzed their long-standing issues. She advised Yanan to sit down with Wei Ran and talk things through, expressing her feelings honestly instead of continuing to avoid the problem. Tang Yang arrives at the hospital room and is surprised to see Zhou Mo. Knowing he came to see her, she told him they should discuss business at the office. Moreover, she reminds Zhou that he should see the kind of person she is and that they shouldn't discuss irrelevant matters. Unfazed, Zhou Mo replies that he's also a friend of Shi Yan and is merely visiting a sick friend with no ulterior motives. Shi Yan encourages Tang Yang to step outside and talk to Zhou Mo. At a nearby cafe, she tells him to get straight to the point. He bluntly states that Zhujiang Holdings' core business is real estate, and they need a loan, asking her for a favor to expedite the process. Maintaining a serious tone, she replies that approving loans based on qualified documentation is her job, and if the documents aren't up to standard, there's no way around it. Zhou Mo advises her to be realistic, saying that nothing can be accomplished without money, and assures her that if she helps Zhujiang Holdings, they will ensure her efforts don't go unrewarded. He then reveals a startling fact. When she joined Huishang Bank, it was his uncle, the bank president, who recommended her and spoke highly of her. He adds that the selection process at Huishang was very stringent back then, and they had a policy against hiring women, especially unmarried and childless ones, due to perceived instability. Tang Yang is shocked by this revelation, and Zhou Mo adds provocatively, "Does this count as being clean?" Shi Yan worried that Tang Yang hadn't returned, so she dressed and left the hospital to look for her. She, devastated by what Zhou told her, walks back to the hospital in tears. Upon seeing him, she rushes to him, crying out loud. Shi Yan calmly reassures her, telling her that her accomplishments are actual. Many top companies offered her positions, but she chose Huishang Bank, and her career success proves her ability. He insists that Zhou Mo was upset and made things up, as neither Zhou Mo nor Zhou Zixing owns Huishang Bank. Tang Yang feels better after hearing Shi Yan's comforting words, without realizing it, and their relationship naturally shifts from friendship to romance. Just as they are about to kiss, Tang Yang pulls her hand back, worried about hurting his surgical wound. Shi Yan complains about her always backing out at crucial moments and playfully demands that she repay him. Embarrassed, Tang Yang says she'll owe him and settle the score after he's discharged. Meanwhile, Zhou Mo calls, falsely telling the person on the other end that Tang Yang has accepted the house keys. He then drives off. When Shi Yan is discharged from the hospital, everyone gathers at home to celebrate. Just then, Yanan calls, asking to meet Wei Ran. He feels nervous and remorseful, first acknowledging his mistakes and then tearfully begging her to forgive him and not leave him. Yanan suddenly changed her attitude, feeling emotional, and quickly grabbed tissues to wipe away his tears. They officially made peace with each other. Lin Lang can't find Tang Yang at work, and Director Gan pressures her to sign documents. Qin Yu thinks Tang Yang is avoiding signing because she's typically very responsible, and if she's not signing, there must be a good reason. Director Gan summons Tang Yang and harshly criticizes her for dragging her feet on the Qinglai Yaipei case. She admitted that it was indeed the case. The employees of the Favor Group company were owed several months of wages. Not only did she disagree, but the upper-level leader Zhou Xing also disagreed. Shortly afterward, bad news arrives. Qinglai Yaipei's founder, Lu Qingqing, was intercepted by the police while trying to leave the country. Director Gan promptly writes a report advising against granting Qinglai Yaipei the loan. Vice President Gao invited Director Gan for tea, praising his diligent work and saying he helped the bank avoid a significant loss. Shi Yan went to the company to deal with things after recovering. Tang Yang took advantage of the lunch break to visit his company immediately. The two last saw each other 2 days ago due to work reasons. Cheng Wei rushes to make coffee, but the happiest person is Shi Yan, who seizes the opportunity to hold Tang Yang's hand. One day was like 3 autumns apart. Just as they're about to kiss, Cheng Wei walks in with the coffee. They quickly pull away. At a Huishang Bank meeting, Manager Zhou praises the credit review department for their thorough and responsible handling of the Qinglai Yaipei case, giving Vice President Gao credit for guiding the process and preventing a bad loan. Tang Yang and Qin Yu exchanged confused glances, wondering how Mr. Gan had taken the credit. After work, the couple discusses the pros and cons of publicizing their relationship and decides to keep it a secret. Meanwhile, Cheng Hui's relationship with Nina also grows closer. And after finishing filming, she plans to fly back to Rongcheng to meet him. Keeping their relationship secret adds a lot of stress for Xi Yan and Tang Yang. To ease things, he decides to rent an apartment near his office as a private space for them to meet. She agrees it's the best solution. So they go apartment finding together. However, they unexpectedly run into Cheng Wei in the underground parking lot. Xi Yan pulled Tang Yang and immediately squatted next to his car. Feeling that he felt like a little tail he couldn't shake away whenever he saw Cheng Wei. Cheng Wei had already discovered them and curiously asked them what they were doing. Embarrassed, both of them ask in unison why he is there. To which Cheng Wei replies that he lives there. Surprising them, Cheng Wei brought them to the place where he lived. Wei Ran also came to stay here a few days ago because he quarreled with his wife. Now that they have reconciled, the other bedroom is empty. When Cheng Wei invited him to share the house, he immediately refused. He made the excuse that he hadn't thought it through yet. After leaving Cheng Hui's place, they walk hand in hand under the streetlights. He pulls her in and kisses her deeply. It's their first passionate kiss, and both are fully immersed in the moment. When she gets home, she can't stop thinking about the kiss. Her face flushed with excitement. She even grabs a cold soda to cool her blushing cheeks. After the relationship between the two turned into a couple, it felt particularly sweet. In addition to the necessary good morning and good night, they met more every day. Meanwhile, Cheng Wei plans to have dinner with Nina. But her flight is delayed. She suggests rescheduling, but he insists on sticking to the plan, saying he's already made the reservation. At the restaurant, he orders her favorite dishes and a bottle of white wine, then waits for her while checking his phone. By the time the restaurant is about to close, she still hasn't arrived. He ends up eating both their portions alone. When Nina finally arrives, the restaurant is closing, and he is waiting for her with the wine bottle at the door. They smile at each other, and Cheng takes her to a nearby street food stall. Starving, Nina eats without hesitation, breaking her idol image. She was usually swamped and had been single for these years. With the caring boy, she couldn't help but feel warm in her heart. As night fell, Zhou Mo came to the cemetery again with flowers. Here slept the only girl he had ever loved deeply. Her name was Xu Shanshan. Zhou Mo's parents died early, so he only has her as a companion. Only a short time after they met, Xu Shanshan encountered misfortune. Zhou Mo looked indifferent on the surface, but in fact, he was very lonely. Wei Ran calls Xi Yan urgently, informing him that Nina's account is in trouble, with many negative comments appearing online. According to Cheng Hui's technical analysis, Nina's account has been hacked, and many untrue videos and photos were posted. Although those pictures were synthesized, they would impact their brand. Wei Ran suggests immediately removing Nina's videos and photos from the platform, but Xi Yan argues against it. Nina brought significant traffic to the platform when they first partnered, and given their long-standing cooperation, they shouldn't abandon her now. Cheng Wei rushes out, saying he's going to find a friend. Meanwhile, Nina is at home with her friends, distressed about the situation. Cheng Wei called her. After getting her permission, he immediately set up encryption for her page. It was so late, and Nina hadn't eaten yet, so Cheng Wei cooked wontons for her. Before he left, he comforted Nina, saying she didn't need to care about netizens' reactions. Nina seems calmer after hearing Cheng's story about being stuck in the Greater Qing'an Mountains without internet, wholly disconnected from the world. She thanks him for helping her see that sometimes, things don't matter as much as they seem. Later, Xi Yan returns to Tang Yang's apartment. Seeing that he hasn't eaten, she makes sweet dumplings for him. They kiss passionately as the dumplings cook, but the dumplings overcook, turning into black sesame soup. A few days later, Xi Yan's company is about to enter its Series C financing round, and a due diligence team arrives to review the company's documents. To Xi Yan's surprise, the team leader is Tang Yang's ex-boyfriend, Song Jing. Wei Ran warns Xi Yan not to tell Tang Yang about Song Jing's presence to avoid bringing up bad memories. However, she unexpectedly showed up at the company because Cheng Wei had messaged her, saying the cafeteria served delicious dishes like sweet and sour ribs and pepper chicken. Xi Yan decides to tell her about Song Jing's arrival, but she calmly responds that it's no big deal since it's been so long. They head to the cafeteria, where Song Jing appears visibly flustered upon seeing her. Wei Ran, on the side, noticed that Song Jing kept staring at Tang Yang without blinking. Tang Yang had been concentrating on eating, and a grain of rice fell from the corner of her mouth. Song Jing immediately picked up the napkin to help wipe it, but she refused and said her boyfriend would wipe it. Song Jing froze on the spot. looking at Shi Yan's expression again. Not to mention how jealous he was. Song Jing explores Tang Yang's current situation during a meal with old classmates. His classmate tells him she has always been single and that Shi Yan is a close friend. Shi Yan's girlfriend is Nina, which explains why his company hasn't cut ties with her, even amidst the scandal. Meanwhile, a tech expert known as KB posts online, confirming that the negative news about Nina is entirely fabricated. KB even shares the IP address of the source responsible for the false information, which causes a massive uproar online. Public opinion quickly shifts, with many people expressing sympathy for Nina and demanding severe punishment for those behind the forgery. She is thrilled to be cleared of all accusations and asks Xing Yu to find KB so she can thank him in person. She also wants to thank Shi Yan's company for standing by her during her lowest point. Tang Yang notices Shi Yan's hesitation when mentioning Song Jing, so she shares her past with Song Jing. They were high school classmates who ended up at the same university, making them appear close. Rumors started that he was pursuing her, and she even felt slightly pleased. However, she later discovered that Song Jing was seeing another girl from the student council. When people began saying he had dumped her, Song Jing explained that the girl had connections in the financial industry and could help him secure a summer internship. Tang Yang found this explanation absurd and decided to stop talking with him altogether. Shi Yan is furious after hearing this, feeling that Song Jing treated her like a fool, and he vows to get back at him. Knowing his flour allergy, Shi Yab had deliberately filled the office with them. When Song Jing arrives at Shi Yan's company, his allergic rhinitis makes him sneeze uncontrollably. Branch manager Zhou announced that Tang Yang will be the deputy leader of the research group. Gan Yiming wasn't happy with this decision, but there was nothing more he could do. Xiao Qin was transferred to the branch where Tang Yang worked. He had a crush on her for a long time, and it took a lot of effort to get closer to Tang Yang. They had a party together for dinner in the evening, and Shi Yan drove to pick her up. Xiao Qin was slightly surprised to learn that Shi Yan and Tang Yang were close buddies, but Zheng Wei shook his head helplessly. Xiao Qin and other bank colleagues left when the party ended, leaving only some people. Wei Ran watched Tang Yang and Shi Yan walking away hand in hand. His eyes widened in surprise. But Zheng Wei shook his head, saying everyone knew the comment. Only Wei Ran was a fool. He hurried home to show off to Yanin. Excited and surprised, she decided to go to Tang Yang's house to investigate together that night. They demanded to know when the relationship started. To their surprise, neither Tang Yang nor Shi Yan can provide an exact answer. Zhou Mo worked for Gan Yiming's wife's company and promised to get approval from Tongyang Bank. He thought that as long as he played the family card, Tang Yang would find a way to get the approval. Unfortunately, he made the wrong calculation after all. Once, he saw Gan Yiming hurriedly come to his wife's office and reminded her that Tang Yang had not approved the appropriation of the funds. Then, Gan Yiming and his wife immediately tried to find a solution. Zhou Mo had just heard in the dark. In this case, he felt things might not go as smoothly as he imagined. As night fell, Zhou Mo opened the poem written by Shan Shan at home and recalled every moment he met her. God was so unfair. Why did he take away the people he loved so early? Shan Shan was his college classmate. Back then, she juggled part-time jobs, delivering food and working at a supermarket. In her free time, she borrowed a Tagore poetry book from the library, which Zhou had just returned. The two exchanged smiles, feeling a connection. Song Jing investigated the analytical data of Shi Yan's company and thought some of their accounts were abnormal and needed to be re-examined. When Wei Ran heard this result, he suspected that Song Jing was avenging his revenge. Shi Yan carefully reviewed the entire investigation data and felt that Song Jing had been working in auditing for many years and would not cause trouble for some private wishes. So he asked Song Jing to take back those things that had not been recovered for a long time. Tang Yang has recently started to be busy with Huishang tasks, which is Zhou Mo's project. After comparing all the data, she found a problem with the other party's repayment period and always failed to repay on time. In view of the fact that this company has many years of experience in Huishang regarding business, she started to look through the previous files. A person named Shan Shan appeared in the files. She also investigated Zhou Mo's company's projects but didn't know what happened. Anyway, this girl resigned, which was very strange. Song Jing finishes his due diligence and prepares to return to Beijing to write his report. Before leaving, he asks Wei Ran to meet with Tang Yang. They met at a cafe. Song Jing begins by apologizing, admitting that he hadn't considered her feelings. He then confesses his admiration for her, claiming that they are ideally suited for each other professionally and personally. Tang Yang interrupts him, clarifying that she is now in a committed relationship with Shi Yan. Surprised, He asks if she and Shi Yan have only recently started dating because of pressure from their families to get married. She firmly explains that their relationship isn't what he imagines. They have grown up together, weathering many challenges side by side. Because of this strong foundation, their relationship has naturally blossomed into something stable and harmonious. Understanding her explanation, he sincerely wishes them happiness. The following day, Shi Yan arrives at Tang Yang's place with many gifts, determined to make the most of their weekend together. While brushing her teeth, she accidentally dropped the toothpaste on the bed. The two of them changed the sheets together and prepared to wash them. They were laughing and playing and having fun. Suddenly their mother came, because Tang Yang's mother had the key. When she entered the bedroom, she was startled by the scene in front of her. And Shi Yan's mother was also stunned. After this incident, they finally believe that Tang Yang and Shi Yan are genuinely together, as there's no other explanation for why they'd be in such an intimate situation. Nina was very grateful to Cheng Wei for helping her repair the astronomical telescope, so she invited him and his friends from the company to have a steak together. Nina didn't forget to thank everyone for supporting her and Yishou Haoshi during her crisis. During the meal, she accidentally overheard that Cheng Hui's online alias was Philly, the tech genius she had been trying to find. She stood up and pulled Cheng aside to confirm that he was indeed the one who had commissioned KB to help clear her name. Nina was deeply moved and asked Cheng why he had done this for her. Cheng admitted and said he was ready to explain if she was ready to hear it. Nina seemed to understand what he was about to say, covering her hesitation, and took a sip of her drink. He revealed that he had first noticed they shared the same interest and explored the vastness of space. Watching the lone wanderer in the desolation of space had somehow eased Nina's insomnia. She left early, and Cheng Wei stood staring at the night sky. Shi Yan came over. Cheng Wei lamented that although some stars could see each other, they were always just parallel lines. Even fantasy became a luxury. Shi Yan comforts him. But there are also magnetic fields between stars. Maybe two stars attracting each other can change each other's trajectory. Tang Yang later learned from the HR department that Shan Shan had joined a credit audit division in 2019 but was soon transferred to a remote branch, supposedly to care for her family. The branch manager handled the transfer. And shortly after, Shan Shan disappeared, reportedly resigning. Zhou Mo followed the leader's instructions and wanted to raise funds for Shi Yan's company. Soon after, Wei Ran invited him to meet at the company and politely rejected Zhou Mo's proposal. He walked absent-mindedly past a familiar restaurant. He couldn't help but raise the corner of his mouth. When Xu Shanshan was still there, they often came here to eat. She invited him to dinner after her first month's salary after coming to Huishang. At that time, she also said that she wanted to treat Zhou Mo to a big dinner, and both promised to make more money in the future. Zhou Mo received a call from his boss. After he returned, he reported on his trip to Yishou today. But Mrs. Wei made trouble. Zhou Mo deliberately said that he could forge the contract with Yishou. This made her satiated. After a while, Gan Yiming also came. He reminded his wife irritably that Tang Yang was now investigating the loans handled by Xu Shanshan and might soon find out the truth. When she heard Zhou Mo say that Tang Yang couldn't be bribed with money, Mrs. Wei decided to scare Tang Yang. Zhou Mo was trembling in his heart and blurted out, "Wouldn't it cause death?" She responded with a sinister smile, and Xu Shanshan's incident was just an exception. Zhou Mo waited for Tang Yang outside Huishang Bank. She initially didn't want to speak to him, but he asked if she was interested in knowing about Xu Shanshan. He revealed that Xu Shanshan had been transferred out of the credit audit department after she discovered problems with some loans. Zhou's uncle also opposed his dating her. He then gave Tang Yang a few names, individuals who knew about the situation but had since left Huishang. From their conversation, she sensed the danger surrounding the case. Huge amounts of money flowed into several virtual company accounts, and then disappeared. In the end, there was no way to claim them. Feeling conflicted after uncovering the bank's illegal loan practices, she called Shi Yan, but he was busy negotiating with investors and couldn't talk. Alone at home, she drafted a report detailing the financial crimes at Huishang Bank and was about to submit it to the police but hesitated. At that moment, Shi Yan returned, sensing from her tone earlier that she needed him. He read through her report and encouraged her to follow her conscience. Tang Yang sent the report with his support. To ensure her safety, he took her to stay at the hotel where he was negotiating, not wanting her to leave his side. Captain Sun from the Economic Crime Division took charge of the investigation, and Tang Yang closely cooperated. Captain Sun later informed her that Zhou Mo had drugged and kidnapped Mrs. Wei, hiding her in the suburbs. Gan Yiming was arrested while at the customs exit gate. If they had arrived any later, Mrs. Wei wouldn't have survived. Now, Zhou Mo had gone missing. Tang Yang and Shi Yan were shocked by the news. Just then, she received a message from Zhou Mo with his location. They rushed to find him at Xu Shanshan's grave in the cemetery. When they arrived, Zhou Mo began recounting Shanshan's tragic story. After she had discovered the loan issues, he had been too caught up in an overseas acquisition case. He hadn't been there for Shanshan when she needed him the most. The ones who pushed her to the brink were Gan Yiming and Mrs. Wei. Currently, they have paid the price for their actions. He then told Tang Yang how fortunate she was, having come from a loving family and encountered far kinder people than Xu Shanshan ever had, even though they both have the same date of birth. After clarifying the case, Tang Yang and Shi Yan quickly returned to work. Half a year later, both of them have made achievements in their respective jobs. When not busy, they cook together and live in a world of two. The two mothers began to prepare for their marriage and buy bedding. Nina asked Cheng Wei to watch the stars together. Along the way, she admitted that she had already become accustomed to the life with Cheng Wei. That night, they were surprised that the two stars that symbolized them had changed their original orbits. The two people held their hands together, and the two hearts were very close at this moment. Tang Yang and Zhang Xian's parents began to prepare for the wedding banquet. Unknowingly, the wedding date was mentioned on the schedule. Although Tang Yang and Shi Yan did not like this deliberate sense of formality, they still entered the wedding hall in the way they liked. The wedding scene of the two people was on a beautiful mountaintop surrounded by snow. When they were 18 years old, they climbed the mountain to the top. At that time, they wished to return to the hill together one day. Now their dream has finally come true. Not only have they progressed together in the first half of their lives, but in the second half, they can still walk side by side and have deep love as husband and wife. The two remotely sent the wedding video to their parents, and they applauded happily. Life is a journey, and the scenery we see on the way is different. Everyone has different paths and people to meet. While we envy others, we often ignore what we currently have. Shi Yan was born into a poor single-parent family when he was a child and suffered humiliation and bullying. However, he met a kind-hearted girl, who protected him from wind and rain along the way, and finally gained his own happiness. Ordinary people like us are not without it, have been favored by God. The movie ends here. Please subscribe to my channel to update more great movie recaps.